In this video today, I'm going to show you how you can turn email newsletters into podcasts using this automation. So I love email newsletters. You can learn so much up-to-date information from them. But a lot of the time, I just don't have time to go through and scroll and read all that information. I'd rather do it when I'm cooking or cleaning. And that's where this podcast format comes in really useful. I can just put my headphones in and then play the email newsletter podcast, and I get all the same sort of media consumption that I normally get when I'm reading the podcast, but I can do something else while I'm doing it, increasing my productivity. So that's why we actually go and build these automations to help us save time, make our lives that much easier, whether it's in a personal sense like the one I just said or in a business sense. That's why AI automations are so valuable and so important in 2025. So I'm going to show you how you can build this automation for yourself, step by step. I'm building it on a platform called Make.com. It's a really, really powerful automation platform, and it's super versatile. You can pretty much build any automation that your heart desires. It's really, really good. So yeah, let's get into it. So the very first step of this automation actually happens in Gmail. You can kind of use any other email service provider you want, but I use Gmail. And what you need to do first is create a label. My label is called newsletters. And in this label, you can create some rules, such as if a certain email is the only email you get the newsletter from, then any email that's sent using that certain email address will be put into this folder. Or you can just manually go and plonk all your newsletters into this label right here. So here I've got a bunch of newsletters that I've put into this folder, and this is what we're going to use to create our podcast. Great, so now that we've got one spot where we keep all our newsletters, that's a great place to start now building out our automation. So you kind of want this automation to run once a week, for example, so you can have a podcast from all the last week's worth of newsletters. And that's where you can go into Make.com and you can click on this every 15 minutes and change the regular intervals to let's go days of the week, and say you want it to run every Sunday. So now every single Sunday at 4 p.m, this automation will kick off. And I'm just going to click. I don't want to activate it right now because I'm showing you how this works. So I don't want to start to activate it. And I'm just saving the automation. So it's all saved. And now this will run every single week, and we'll have a podcast within our inbox, every single week at 4 p.m. So now that we've configured the custom schedule, now we need to do the first module. Now this module here is called the trigger module. It's normally what kicks off this entire automation, and it normally grabs a bunch of data from another application. So here we've got this Gmail module, and it watches for new emails. So we need to configure this module so it watches for new emails, but not in our entire inbox, but just where we store our newsletters. So that will only grab the newsletters out of our inbox. That's why the first step is super important. So we don't grab every single email we have and turn that into a podcast, because that might not be super engaging or useful. But what we actually need is just the newsletters. So this is how this is configured. So we want the folder only to grab the emails from newsletters. It's kind of a simple filter. We want all the emails within newsletters because it'll only be the newsletters. And then the maximum number of results, we only want 5 newsletters at a time. You can change this. So for example, if you want a podcast with 15 newsletters from that week, you can always change it to that. But I only want 5 at a time. Otherwise the podcast gets a little too long for me. So that's that done. And that's that module configured. So now that Make.com is going to grab all those newsletters from our email, what we need to do is summarize these newsletters. And that's where this AI module comes in really useful. So it's prompted quite simply. So all it is it's going to get the email from here using this text content and summarize this email newsletter. That's pretty much it. It's just going to go and summarize the email newsletter. And this will happen every single time for every single newsletter. So we've got 5 new newsletters coming in. So the first one will go in and get summarized. The second one will go in and get summarized. The third one will go and get summarized, and so on and so forth. So now that every single newsletter has been summarized by the AI, we want to combine them all into one big block of text. This makes it easier to, turn that into a podcast, and also just for data formatting. So that's exactly what we're doing here with this tools module using the text aggregator. So how the text aggregator is set up is every single time there's a new result within this ChatGPT, so every single summary that comes through, it will just combine all of those summaries into one big block of text. So now that we've got all the 5 summaries from every single one of our 5 newsletters, what we want to do is go and create a script. So that's where this AI model comes in useful. So again, it's prompted quite simply. We're using the GPT-4o mini system. If you want a little bit better of a podcast, you can of course change this to the O1 or the GPT-4 O, just normal, not mini system. But I'm just going to leave it as the 4O mini system because it's a little cheaper and easier to run. It's a bit quicker to run as well. And simple, just turn this script into a script for a podcast, and it's just going to get all the text from the text aggregator, which is all the summaries from all the newsletters, and essentially turn that into a script for a podcast. Now, if you want to take this automation to another level, you can upgrade this kind of prompt and, inform the AI how you want the script to sound. If you want it to sound super enthusiastic, if you want it to, focus on certain details within your newsletters, you can of course prompt this model in any way you want, but currently this is kind of how it's prompted, and this works really well for me. Now that the AI has gone and generated a script for us, we now need something to go and read out that script to turn it into a podcast. And again, we're going to use an AI voice to do this. So again, we're using OpenAI's ChatGPT kind of module right here, and we're going to use the generate an audio function. So what we need to do is essentially get the script from this model here using this result, and essentially just pass that in, and then the AI will go and read out that script for us. The text to voice model that I'm actually using is this TT1 HD model. You can try out these other models and see whichever one works best for you, but this one's been great for me and it's really good for my use case here. So after we've gone and generated that MP3 file where the AI is going and voicing our script, what we need to do next is go and upload this MP3 file with the podcast onto our Google Drive. And that's exactly where this model comes in really handy. So this module here is the Google Drive upload a file module, and it will go and upload the file created by this module here. So as you can see here, it's grabbing the file from the generate an audio module from before, and I'm just uploading it to this newsletter to podcast automation folder here. So once we've gone and uploaded this to our Google Drive folder, we just need to go and grab the share link from Google Drive. So here we are, we've got the file ID, which is just generated from the previous module here. So this is how this module is configured. So the first variable here is this file ID. We're grabbing this from the upload a file module we just had previously, and we just want the file ID because that's the share link we want. And we just want the email address I've just configured as my email address. We don't need any notifications or anything like that, and the role just as reader is fine for this purpose. So this will go and grab the share link of this file here, and we will then use that share link and just send an email back to ourselves, essentially with the podcast. So every single week you will get a link of the podcast created by this automation, and you can just go click on that link and then listen to the podcast with all your newsletters in it. It's super valuable to save a bunch of time. Another note that you can do to make this automation a little better is if you really don't like the sound of AI voices and you want to use a better AI kind of system, then 11 Labs is great, and they have their own module here. So if I just show you add a module, you can connect 11 Labs. Let me just search for it here. 11 Labs right here, and you can do create a speech synthesis. And 11 Labs has some of the best AI voices. They almost sound really, really realistic. So you can use those to voice your podcast. I just use the OpenAI generate an audio because it's just easier, as I have an account with OpenAI, and the API credits are all linked together. So that's why I use that one. But you can use 11 Labs instead to create a really, really realistic, voice in the AI. So this is a short snippet of what the podcast would sound like.
Episode lined up for you. We're diving into the world of business growth, success strategies, and the journey toward hitting those ambitious goals we all set for ourselves.
So that's a short snippet. A lot of my newsletters are focused around, growth and business growth because, that's the kind of things I like to read. So that's why that was the intro. But yeah, the voice sounds super, super realistic. So if you enjoyed this video and you learned something, I'd really appreciate if you could interact with it. It helps out a ton, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.